Is $80 price tag too much for a video game? Well, in this video I want to talk about just that. Now, for many years, the standard price for a new major AAA video game releases held steady at around $60. Around the launch of the current generation of console, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S, many publishers initiated a move to a $70 standard for the most significant titles. Now, some publishers, notably Nintendo and Microsoft, have announced or started pricing select high-profile games at $80, with others like Sony and Take-Two, publisher of Grand Theft Auto, also expected to potentially follow suit for certain releases. Now, this marks another significant increase in the cost of entry for playing latest blockbuster games. So why are the prices actually increasing? Well, there are different main reasons for that. First of all, the soaring development and marketing costs, with modern AAA games are incredibly complex and expensive to produce. Also, marketing budget to promote these titles globally are also substantial. Publishers argue that the traditional $60 or $70 price point no longer adequately covers these ballooning costs. Of course, you cannot hear, when we talk about that, people mentioning the word inflation, where the cost of goods and services across the global economy has risen due to inflation. Publishers contend that video game prices have not kept pace with inflation compared to other forms of entertainment or even historical games prices. So when adjusted for inflation, some classic game prices from even decades past would be equivalent to $100 or more in today's currency. Now, of course, there's also the side of the increased scope and value in quotations, where publishers often justify higher prices by claiming their games offer significantly more content, longer playtime, higher fidelity graphics, or greater overall production value than previous generations. Nintendo, for instance, cited that vast and rich experience of Mario Kart World as kind of the justification for its $80 price tag. This is from GameSpot, the title, "Some 80-player games are still based on what they offer," former PlayStation executive says. Now, there's also the marketing willingness. Analysts suggest that the market, particularly for high anticipated games from major franchises, may bear a higher price point. The success of previous price increase to $70 and the willingness of some players to pay even more for collector's edition or early access indicates a segment of the audience is willing to pay a premium price for games. There's also, of course, the situation where players are paying a high price for a game where it's actually not even finished, it's actually in development, like early access, for example. So there's also great willingness to support the developer for a game that they really want to play and willing to follow the development stages in order to provide feedback, of course, and eventually enjoy their favorite games. Now, there's also the subject of tariffs and economic conditions, with global economic conditions including supply chain issues and potential tariffs on imported goods, which primarily affect hardware, can put pressure on companies to increase prices across the board, including software, to offset rising costs or maintain profit margins. And of course, many are probably thinking, well, if they sell it for higher, less people will buy it, so it actually will even out. Think about yourself. You're a big fan of Mario Kart, for example. You've been waiting for a long time to play the next iteration in the franchise. With this $10 will be the difference between buying the game and not buying the game? What do you think the majority of players will actually do? Will skip it entirely because of this $10 difference? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Now, there's no doubt there's going to be increased revenue, there is an increased revenue potential here, especially, of course, for publishers. The higher price per unit so directly translates to increased revenue, assuming sales remain strong, of course. This can help offset high development costs and contribute to higher profits. It also can even cover some, situation where the game is not succeeding as expected. Cover some of the risks of developing a game or bringing a new IP, or taking risks designing games that are not remakes or remasters, or something new that the developer want to make, but are not sure if it will succeed. So there's always risk developing a game, putting a lot of resources, and you're not really sure if it's gonna sell well. And this is directly related to risk calculation for new IPs. The higher price point might make publishers more hesitant to invest in new unproven intellectual properties at the AAA level. The risk for a new game underperforming at $80 is higher than $60 or $70. This is potentially leading to a greater focus on established popular franchises that are perceived as safer investment. And we've seen that a lot in the last years, more of games rehash of previous titles, popular titles, remakes, remasters, and so on. It is just safer for companies to do that than trying something from fresh. This is where Nintendo has a great chance for succeeding with that, because their games are, a continue of a franchise, popular franchise that people enjoy playing so much. I also think that the market also have emphasis on blockbuster. The market may become even more now focused on few massive blockbuster titles that are deemed worth the $80 price tag by a large audience. And I would say even more, there's also the accelerating digital shift in subscription. Higher individual game prices make subscription services like Xbox Game Pass, which I'm subscribed to, and PlayStation Plus, which offer access to library of games for a monthly fee, now look even more attractive to price-conscious consumers. This could accelerate the industry shift towards digital distribution and recurring revenue models. But at the same breath, it also offers opportunity for indie and AA games. As AAA prices rise, the value proposition for low-price indie and AA games, basically mid-budget titles often priced between around $20 up to $60, becomes more apparent. And this can potentially drive more players toward this segment of the market than ever before. I think also the quality of these games has proven itself even more in the last 5 or so years. But how this actually affect you, the player? Well, first of all, reduce affordability. For many players, specifically those with limited disposable income, $80 per game is a significant expense, especially in certain markets with this price even higher. So this makes gaming a more costly hobby and can limit the number of new releases they can afford to purchase. This also means that players are likely to become much more selective about which games they buy at launch. They may prioritize games from their most loved franchise or those with exceptionally positive reviews and perceived high value. I also think this will make also the franchises more stronger, because people will in playing games that have already proven that the core gameplay mechanics are something they love, than taking a risk investing in a game that I'm not sure they're gonna enjoy. And I also think that reviews will be even more crucial now than ever before, because players will actually pay a lot of attention before actually investing time to play the game. Although there are platforms, of course, if you buy the game and play like 2 hours or so, you'll be able to refund and still get your money back. So I also think that the player will actually prefer buying on these platforms just to have the option to try the game and decide whether they like the game, and if not, refund it when and if possible. So I also think that Steam will benefit from that, or any other platform that actually have a fair and good refund offering. Aside from that, things related to growing appeal in subscription services and free-to-play games. Services like Game Pass and PlayStation Plus offer a way to access many games for a fixed monthly cost, which can feel like a better value compared to buying multiple $80 titles. Similarly, free-to-play games funded by microtransactions or battle passes may see increased engagement. So I also predict that services like those of Microsoft, like Game Pass and similar, will continue growing, but even at a large pace compared to ever before. Now, for what it means also for developers, but also for players, well, higher expectations. When you are actually paying $80 for a game, players will likely have higher expectations regarding quality, performance, content, and the absence of aggressive monetizations like excessive microtransactions or day one DLC that is essential to the core experience. A game perceived as lacking in content or polish will face harsher criticism at this price point. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be lots of review bombings, extensive one, even more than ever before once you reach a point that many games will actually cost as much. Plus, we kind of want to, in quotation, punish developers for not actually delivering for what they actually expect at such high price point. Now, this can also be problematic for some new games because players at this high price point, this can lead to change in how players actually engage with games. They might spend more time with the games they do purchase and they feel they got their money's worth, potentially reducing the willingness to try out a wide variety of new releases. Basically, not taking a chance and risk their investment in the game. They want to make sure that the game they actually buy will have their return of investment. They're going to enjoy it and not waste time buying a game that they don't like, they eventually won't like. Yeah, and eventually you'll see many players that will prefer just, again, renting games like they have with subscription than actually buying them. Actually, this is already a trend that was building even before the move to $80 games. Many players will just adopt the play it and move on mentality. So just rent basically the game, try it out, and play it, of course, if you only pay a subscription, or get to a point where they just try out the game, see if they like it, and then decide whether they are committing for a full purchase. Many people actually have the subscription active, for example, like Game Pass, just to be able to try the game and decide if they want to buy it on Steam, for example, on other platforms. This will be stronger for games you can actually just finish, that don't have really high replay value, where you just finish and move on, compared to games that you might prefer buying, which you plan to play for a long period of time and you don't want to commit to a subscription service in order to be able to play it for a long period of time. Also, this high price will likely make patient gaming even more prevalent. Players who aren't interested in playing a game immediately at launch will be more inclined to wait for a significant price drop, so holiday sales, or for a game to potentially join a subscription service. It already exists now, but it's going to be even more prominent in the future. So basically, the move to $80 video games is a response by publishers to rising costs and market conditions. They aimed at increasing revenue. However, it presents a significant challenge for players in terms of affordability and focuses them to be more strategic in their purchasing decisions. It also has a broader implication for the industry as a whole, potentially shaping the types of games that are developed and the models through which they are delivered and consumed. So I know there's going to be lots of diverse thought about that. I want to hear it in the comment section below. Let's discuss it there. Thanks for watching.